It's time for the Panic Chamber. It's time to bring back the Panic Chamber weekly going forward. Are we concerned about Keenan Allen? Are we concerned about Diggs and Nico? Christian McCaffrey, Watson, Nick Chubb? We're going to do a whole gauntlet of Panic Chamber breakdowns. The Fantasy Football Show Panic Chamber Edition begins right now. And I come back on screen live after. So anybody in the chat goes, "Where's Smitty? Where's Smitty? I'm coming back." Here's a little pre-recorded Panic Chamber, then on to the live show. Let's go. Welcome to the Panic Chamber, episode number 1. Your boy's here to bring you this pretty much weekly going forward. And during the season, who's up, who's down, who are we petrified about? Are you a petrified Peter about any of these names on screen? Sometimes someone might make the Panic Chamber and be in the title. People say clickbait. We're here to sometimes shoot down the panic. Sometimes we'll say we're not putting said player in the Panic Chamber. Just because you see a name here doesn't mean we're going to conclude or decide that they're a panicked worthy individual. The Panic Chamber, episode number 1 for the 2024 season. Preemptive week 1 edition begins right now.
You are entering the Panic Chamber, brought to you by theattic.shop. Vintage movie tees and hoodies. Are you a panicked Peter? Let's find out. You are entering the Panic Chamber. Chamber.
On screen are several players I've identified as players we're panicking on, or maybe the industry is panicking on. Now, I might like some of these players. I might even throw them into the Panic Chamber, close the doors, but give you some sort of caveat or preface my point a little bit. But not every player on here will be thrown in the Panic Chamber, the doors closed and locked away for the entirety of the fantasy football season. Let's start off with Diggs and Nico combined. These are two players that are often going in round 2, sometimes top of round 3 for one of them, bottom of round 2 for the other. And these are two players that I don't hate. I don't think that they'll have bad years. I'm not necessarily predicting bust. I think I worry more about Diggs than Nico, because Diggs voided his contract down to 1 year, making him kind of obsolete and easy to move around, and a player that the team might not be planning for long term, even in the short term, because they know he's not necessarily a part of the future. It was a dumb move by Diggs to void the contract down. I don't know why he did it, but the cost of entry for Tank Dell in the 4th round is ridiculously good and so much better than the cost of entry for these two people. It's not that Diggs or Nico can't earn the value. They could, but the cost of entry is not good. The expectation is to the moon, and they have to deliver upon the expectation, or you don't get your value back. The return on investment is not good. Tank Dell in round 4 is so much better than Nico or Diggs in 2 or top of 3. Much rather have a running back like Barkley or Achane or Diggs or even Mahomes or Hurts or Josh Allen, and then get Dell in round 4. The trade-off is not even close. There's no way I'm spending the draft capital on these guys. You're in the Panic Chamber, Nico and Diggs.
You are in the Panic Chamber.
Christian McCaffrey is a tough player to discuss. I do think that if I have the 1.1 pick in any draft scenario, I'm probably 99.9% gonna smash Christian McCaffrey, but because you don't get the 1 pick very often, right? This is your 10%, your 20% ownership of Christian McCaffrey. You don't want to be not holding McCaffrey if he has one more elite year. You want to share or 2 of them. You don't want to doubt him and then him drop one more elite season. It's just not smart business. It's risky. It was riskier to doubt him than to believe in him walking into last year, clearly, even in hindsight, if you want to look at it that way. But this is the 1 year at the age of 28, the drop-off year for running backs that's been knocking running back off after running back off. It's just the dreaded age of 28. It used to be 30 years old. Now it's 28. 28 is the new 30 for RBs. Eckler was 27 years old, had an enormous year in 2022, came into last year at the age of 28, the age that Christian McCaffrey is now. Eckler walked in last year at that age and crapped the bed. And now you mention Eckler's name and people are like, washed, he's garbage. When the year prior, they're like, he's gold, he's amazing. He was just as good as Christian McCaffrey. That season in 2022 was just as remarkable during his 27-year-old season as Christian McCaffrey's 27-year-old season last year. So he's 28. Can anybody defy the 28-year-old decline for running backs? Yeah, of course, it's happened, and 28 is kind of that draw the line point though, right? Even though Derrick Henry's doing it at 30, did it at 29, he is an outlier you cannot use and translate that information over. You just can't. He's the only running back to do it. And Christian McCaffrey, although he takes care of his body better than any running back in the National Football League, which is why we give him kind of a pass for the 28-year-old season, and we're going to, not to spoil it, but you're not going to give him a pass at 29 and 30. Father Time hits every RB, and it's just not likely at all that we're going to see Christian McCaffrey deliver what Henry's doing at 29 and at 30. But at 28 here in 2024, we're going to say this. It's as risky to doubt him as it is to believe in him. Therefore, whenever you got that 1.1, just hit the button and don't think twice about it. But just know that if we're talking about having 4 or 5 leagues back to back to back to back, and you had the 1 or 2 pick in every single one of them, and Christian McCaffrey was available for whatever reason in every single one of those drafts, I would not load up more than 20% of those teams with Christian McCaffrey. The risk of drop off is significantly high at the age of 28 for a running back, no matter who it is. But on that note, we're not going to put Christian McCaffrey in the panic chamber. We're not going to hit the button and close the doors, but we will caution that you need to make sure you limit your shares so that your entire fantasy season doesn't crumble down like it did for those that said the same thing about Eckler last year. His 27-year-old season was remarkable. He's the best back in football. Him and Christian McCaffrey are on an island by themselves, and they were during their 27-year-old seasons. 28 is a bigger risk, but we're going to say, no, McCaffrey, we're not going to slam the door on you. Next year will be a totally different thing, though.
You are safe.
Brandon Aiyuk is a tough case to crack here, because if he continues to hold out and he doesn't get traded and he doesn't get a contract and he doesn't show up and start working out fully, we're in dangerous territory for him to get hurt, because holdout players have a higher likelihood of getting hurt. Then you have the whole angle. If he gets traded to Washington tomorrow, to the Commanders, to play with his best friend Jaden Daniels, these guys talk on the phone 2 or 3, 4 times a day. This just screams that the Commanders are going to make a trade with the San Francisco 49ers. Think about it. You know, Adam Peters is the GM in Washington now. He came over from San Francisco. He's the architect behind drafting Kittle, and a lot to do with Purdy and every single breakout player that the Niners have had. Adam Peters has been at the forefront of that. So he comes over, he's got a line into San Francisco, just like Miami. Mike in Miami had a line in to the Niners. He brings over a lot of Niner players. Luke McCaffrey, drafted by Adam Peters, San Francisco, Christian McCaffrey's brother. There's just a lot of similar types of thinking and building, right? Talent acquisition and scouting is very similar. You know, Jaden Daniels is picking up the phone and going, hey, get it done. And this is a trend in the NFL that is continuing to evolve. Tank Dell going to CJ Stroud because Stroud wanted it. Jamar Chase going to the Bengals because Joe Burrow wanted it. You got Bo Nix and Franklin in Denver. This is becoming a hot trend to get your quarterback as comfortable as possible. Surround him with talent that he already has rapport with. And with having $37-ish million in cap space for the Commanders and the desire by their top dog quarterback, number 2 overall pick. Hey, it's Jaden. I want Aiyuk and I want him now. This would change what we're about to do. Right now, Aiyuk is in the panic chamber. I'm going to close the door because right now he's holding out. Right now he's going down a risky road. And right now I don't know if the Niners are going to trade him. If they do trade him, Ricky Pearsall to the mother freaking moon.
To the moon.
And Aiyuk, if in Washington, very soon to the mother freaking moon.
The moon.
This is a delicate panic chamber topic because right now, what we have in front of us, Aiyuk is in the panic chamber. Okay, I'm going to close the door right now. Don't get mad. but we need to try and preemptively figure out what's going to happen. I'm going to hit the button, but I'm going to tell you my gut tells me that Aiyuk will get traded to Washington. If he doesn't and the Niners crap the bed again and make him play his fifth-year option out, I have a sneaky suspicion this could be a bad year for Aiyuk, and their focal point of pushing him into everything they want to do for the future and building this offense. And we might not see the Niners fully unlock him this year because he's not a long-term option for them potentially if he goes and plays on this fifth-year option. Kind of like how I don't know why Diggs voided his other years of his contract down to 1 year. Why make yourself not a part of the future? Because then when you start to decide whether you're going to, let's say, get Ricky Pearsall some snaps and get him versed and ready to go for the end of the year so that when you walk into 2025, it's all firing off, rapport there between Purdy and Ricky Pearsall. You're going to have Aiyuk in a less advantageous situation if he's got this 1 year deal he's playing on and he's not a part of the future. The team's going to plan around that and it's going to have impact. So right now, with what we know, we're hitting the panic chamber button, but I'm a gambling man. And I think you probably are too, Bob. And I think that I'm going to bank on his value going to the moon. It's kind of an awkward panic chamber moment here. I'm going to bank on it going to the moon and Ricky Pearsall going to the moon. But right now, with what we know, we got to hit the button because he's going toward injury mode or playing badly like Debo. Even if he doesn't get injured right away, he's out of sync. He's not there. He's not mentally there. He's not physically there. I don't care if he's running around trees at the park catching footballs with his buddies and putting chains around his neck and doing push-ups with rubber bands. None of that matters. You're still not in tune. You're going to be out of sync. He's not there mentally. He's upset that his team wanted to trade him. His team doesn't want to sign him. And if he goes in late or even if he comes in right away and starts, preparing on that fifth-year option, it's not going to be the best year for him, in my opinion. So in that context, Aiyuk, you're in the panic chamber. But I really kind of think Ricky's going to the moon. I cannot envision. I don't know if you're with me on this. Look at me. Look at my glasses. Bring it in close. I have this weird gut instinct that Ricky Pearsall's story does not begin next year. It begins this year. So gamble away, do what you will with that information, and know that this could go either way. Olave's in the panic chamber, right? Maybe not so fast because Spencer Rattler's looking really, really good in practice right now. I believe that they found something in this kid. I believe that a lot of teams making these assumptions about him based on the documentary on him that they all said just turned them off and took him off a lot of boards. I don't know. I think maybe that was looked at too harshly. I think that Spencer Rattler's showing everything that we need to see to know that if Carr isn't lights out, Spencer comes right in. And I think with his back against the wall, nobody nipping at his heels, he's going to do some good things. And at the end of the day, even though I don't want Olave at second round value or early second round value, he's starting to become a more attractive 2-3 turn player, but a really nice third drafted player. And in Dynasty, I'm really feeling comfortable, very, very comfortable with his second round value now, mid to late, preferably late second round Dynasty value. So he's not going in the panic chamber because I believe, kind of like Penix Jr. and Kirk Cousins, not saying Derek Carr's that good at all, but you now have a 2 quarterback protective measure like in that situation in Atlanta that makes me feel like Olave is going to be taken care of. No panic chamber for Olave.
You are safe.
Watson, come on. I mean, he looks like he's barely going to be ready. They keep talking about he might throw, he might not throw. Oh, he threw today. Oh, he didn't throw today. Oh, he threw a little bit today. Big news, right? This is not good. This guy does not feel like he's going to turn this thing around. He feels like one of those players that every year gets injured. Like, think about Mike Williams, or think about a player that just continues to disappoint. Whether it's injury or not, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be that holds him back. It could be a combination of just not playing well. This guy never returned to form once he was removed from the football field, punished for everything, sat out, waited. When's the last player that sat out the amount of time that Watson sat out, had this kind of bad beginning to coming back, and then turned into a stud? Like, I'm out. I don't care. There's too many quarterbacks to go get. The quarterback pool is deep down to like 20 overall. You don't need to mess around with this value whatsoever. I'm out. And that kind of gives you a little bit of a concern for all the pieces involved. Amari Cooper, I'm not avoiding him, but I'm not like racing to go get him. I like Ford. I like Jerome Ford a lot. Nick Chubb's coming off probably should put Nick Chubb on here. Nick Chubb is coming off one of the most gruesome injuries that we've ever seen in the history of football. And the only other person that had as bad of an injury was Nick Chubb in college when the same thing happened to his knee. Your knee bends like this. Better yet, let's get the model out. Your knee bends like this. His knee in college from the side made a complete right angle. You can see the ligaments here. When you do that, you're ripping everything. Even the ACL, which we didn't have word if he tore that in the college injury, but I find it very hard to believe he didn't, even if he didn't stretch it massively. And social media was not near to the level it is today, so we wouldn't have had all the information back then. That's why it's hard to find it. But he tore this completely. Imagine your knee going completely right angle to the left or to the right. That's what happened to him in college. It was brutal. He had the same thing happen, only it went this way. So your knee bends this way. You hyperextend your knee a little bit like that and you can damage it, right? He went all the way to a right angle. My model would snap in half if I did that. At his age, Ziggy, how old is Nick Chubb?
Nick Chubb is 28 years old.
28 years old. He turns 29 at the end of this season. During the season, and we just talked about 28 being that hold your breath year. You're telling me a guy with knee injury history, having this particular knee injury in the past, the arthritis is gonna rush in and hit him like it did Todd Gurley. Like, that's what happens when you have this massive knee trauma to both knees, constantly having meniscus problems, whatever the case may be for any other running back that has knee trauma that you could coin as trauma, not just a tear or something. Knee trauma injects that onset of quick arthritis. And one day Nick Chubb, and I think it'll be this year, if he even comes back and is ready for week one, whatever, he's just going to try and cut, and it's just not going to be the same. And I'm not going to bet on a guy at, I guess it depends on his draft capital, but I'm betting on Ford. That is the one guy I want in Cleveland in this offense, but I don't want to go after Nick Chubb unless he falls so far because of some setback rumor, and then you can cuff him to Ford or something. But right now, I'm going to say no. Keenan Allen is an old dog. Ziggy, how old is Keenan Allen?
Keenan Allen is 32 years old.
32 years old.
On April 27th, 1992.
Keenan Allen is 32 years old, and he has an injury history. He's played through a lot of them, but he's now in a new offense. Changing teams is always kind of difficult all by itself, right? And he's in a new offense, but in addition to that new offense, he's in a crowded wide receiver room with a rookie quarterback that I don't believe in Caleb Williams, on a team with a staff that has never developed quarterbacks properly, ever. They continue to fail. I'm not banking on an older player, 32, crowded room, changing teams, injury concern. It's a walking nightmare. And if I'm wrong, I'm not wrong. You heard me. Ask Miss Smitty. I say this all the time. If I'm wrong, I'm not even wrong. Why? Because the player I tell you to draft is, in a worst case scenario, going to be just as good as Keenan Allen. Why not kick the risk out the window and say, if I'm wrong, I'm fine and happy with my choice anyway, and we break even. Your Keenan Allen, because I'm wrong, equals the player I draft anyway. DK Metcalf, Devontae Smith, whoever it might be. Even later, maybe I go RB. Maybe I take a quarterback and take my wide receiver later. Maybe I take a wide receiver like Jaden Reed later and forego my Keenan Allen and take my Mahomes or my Jalen Hurts. Yeah, that's how you smash fantasy. Not grabbing this guy with all the red flags I just described. Keenan Allen, you're in the panic chamber. I'm sorry. That is all she wrote for Panic Chamber, episode 1.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Fantasy Football Show. Live! Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Smitty is also live whenever news breaks.
You are entering the panic.
Thank you for joining me for the first edition of the Panic Chamber. That is episode number 1. Appreciate every single one of you filing on in for that. The show really begins now. We'll probably jump straight into phone calls to discuss a lot of the players you just saw me talk about. So if you want to dial into the live show, we are live right now, doing it live as we always do it. That's how Dad did it. It's how America does it. It's worked out pretty good so far. Do it.
Call into the show. Call into the show.
Dial into the show, do it live, discuss any of the Panic Chamber players that were mentioned or any other players you feel were left off. And don't think, Smitty, why didn't you talk about, I could talk about 100 players. I have to isolate it down to make a show pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Like pretty good in length, pretty good in flow. I can't talk about everybody at once, okay? But I'm certainly open-minded to any other players we can throw on the list, because I have like a list of 100. Probably not 100, but there are tons of players to avoid. Even if you want to talk about DJ Moore to certain degrees at his ADP. Even if you want to talk about Waddle in the second round. There's so many players that are avoids not because they're bad. They're avoids because their ADP doesn't jive with my risk assessment level. So hit it. Do it live. Appreciate you all in the house today. Please put the panic players up again. John, you always have requests constantly. Always have just... John, I can't imagine what John's like in real life. I imagine if John worked in the workplace, he would need one of those ergonomic chairs. He'd need an ergonomic keyboard. He'd need a fan. It would get awfully chilly. They'd need a sweater. John, I'm not mad at you. I appreciate you. We love having John here. Like, John is a part of the family. He's just the guy that spills milk at Thanksgiving every year, and it's fine. It is what it is. Ron Navy, you're live.
Hey, what's up, Smitty?
What's up, pal?
Hey, good first Panic Chamber. I really have no disagreements with any of the players that you talked about.
Wow, no contrarian Ron today. This is odd. Ron woke up on...
The only thing I would have added was I would have put the whole Chicago Bears team in the Panic Chamber.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like if you didn't see him, I'm not panicked on another play. Like Caleb, total avoid. As I said, like DJ Moore at cost, Waddle at cost. Those might be different Panic Chamber episodes that I actually like. Not Caleb is total avoid, but if I talk about DJ Moore and Waddle, they're guys I would draft. It's just I don't draft them now because of their ADP. So like that would be a cool Panic Chamber episode that's more about like we're not hating them, but so there's all different ways I'm going to twist up the Panic Chamber this year. But as you noticed, you know, there are players on here that they're worthy of talking about. They get thrown in, but we don't close the door like McCaffrey, and then you just have the cautious conversation about not saturating your entire team, you know, with tons of McCaffrey, but definitely not passing on him in at least a few leagues.
Well, you only get the first round pick.
Yeah.
Every so often anyway, so
10%.
I mean, you got to kind of take when you can, like you said.
Yeah, just make your 1.1 your stab in the dark at McCaffrey. And when we say stab in the dark, it's an easy stab in the dark, but it's just like you are, as much as everybody wants to say the same thing, you see it in the chat like by 4 or 5 people. They say, he's the number 1 until he's not. Yeah, this is a true statement, but you also got to remember how many people said that about Austin Eckler coming off of his 2022 season, and everybody's memories are so foggy. They're like, yeah, but no. Eckler was just as, like, he was a touch below where McCaffrey was last year coming off that year. Eckler had that kind of year. And it's just there's a certain point where you just drop off, and it's really tough to predict when. But with McCaffrey, given the offense, given everything, you got to take your stab. And like you just said, and like I said on the video, maybe, I mean, if you do an underdog draft 10 times, you'll get the one pick, maybe the one time, maybe the one time, maybe not. So like you're talking about 10% of your leagues you would have McCaffrey in, and that's it. If he fell to me in 4 straight drafts at different combination of picks, like I had 1, I had 2, I had 3, I had 1, I would only take him in 1 of the 4 drafts. That's just me. I'd diversify. I'd take Lamb, and I'd take potentially Jamar Chase, and I'd maybe even take a Bijan in there. That would be how I would diversify my portfolio, but that's just me. Was there anybody else that you wanted to, that you thought should have been added that wasn't? Not because I avoided it, but just because I only wanted to pick so many people today. Caleb was one. Who was the other one?
I mean, I just said pretty much the whole. I know you're going to talk about JJ and that whole situation up there, whether he's going to be. I mean, will he be a form or not? I mean, for the quarterback, if they're planning on starting, that would be kind of a panic.
Yeah, Justin Jefferson is, thank God he's priced right. And I think that he has an ADP that is so solid, and it's not scary by any means to take him at like 7. I got him the other night, Justin Jefferson. I got him at 8 or 9 overall in one draft. 8 in one draft and 9 in the other draft. And I mean, yardage-wise alone, even with a bunch of errant passes coming his way, touchdowns in the 5 to 8 range, like he can easily earn number 7 or 8 overall value, I think. And because he has the upside to maybe surprise, because J.J. McCarthy has a shot in hell to surprise, then it gives you a little bit of upside that is packaged and baked right into the value. So I will say that J.J., he doesn't have the run away from him, don't draft him at all, I think, value at 7, 8, 9. I think he's fantastic. Had he climbed back up with the drafting of J.J. McCarthy because we knew who his quarterback could be for the future or whatever, and he's not even the quarterback for week 1. According to this report right here, there's a 10% chance, this report right here, there's a 10% chance that McCarthy can start week 1. Kevin O'Connell put together a detailed step-by-step development plan for McCarthy that will require the quarterback to hit certain milestones in order to even get in the lineup. So it is going to be Sam Darnold. And had Sam Darnold been his starter and they didn't even draft J.J. McCarthy, we know for a fact that didn't change the value. That wouldn't have changed the value. If anything, JJ's dynasty value would have been better if JJ McCarthy wasn't drafted by the Vikings and they took nobody. And you might be saying, what the hell are you talking about? Because now we're married to JJM for at least 2 or 3 years. This is Danny Dimes. Look how long it's going to take to get him out of there. Look at Mac Jones. And you can blame Mac Jones on Bill Belichick, whatever. I get that. There's some people that still believe in him. And I understand that. But you're talking about 2 to 3 year project. And if I don't believe in the player, then I'm now more worried about JJ long-term with McCarthy there than not. And it's not that McCarthy can't be, I don't know. I don't even know what to peg him as. Like an efficient, decent system quarterback, but not good enough to give JJ, Justin Jefferson, the volume he even remotely came close to with Cousins in that Vikings offense. So we just don't know what he is. But 7, 8, I'm okay with it. Even Dynasty, 7, 8, I'm fine with it. 6, 7, 8, I'm fine with it. But anything higher than that, had JJM hired his value, I'd be out. Completely panic chamber. So
hey, Cobble gifted 5 memberships.
Yeah, God, this thing does not. Let me see if I can update this. I think if I do this each time, I'm gonna have to try and figure out how.
Did you see that?
Thank you, Coble to the moon.
$5 Puppy 2 came out.
Yeah. We'll probably be doing that. I hope tonight. Let me see if I can.
Another thing, I don't. If you realize this or not, but like on the underdog, a lot of like if you get in the draft, like let's say you get into a puppy draft and you get the number 1 spot, you get into a puppy draft right after. I mean, as soon as you figure out what slot you have, a lot of the chances are you're going to get to 1 or 2 again. I mean, it runs like that. Or if you get the number 4 spot and you jump into another one right away, you might get the number 4 again and again and again. So I noticed that about underdog.
You're saying if you join 2 drafts in a row, you're likely to get the same pick if you do it right away?
Yeah.
Okay, I've heard that before too. I wonder if that's a bug or what. Kobold did drop 5 gifted memberships. Kobold to the mother freaking moon. Thank you, Kobold, for doing that, doing it live, doing it well. Appreciate you. If anybody missed this episode, you better go watch yesterday's Achan video. Go watch that. It's up. $2 hauler from Fallon. Thank God Atlanta passed on trading for Watson 2 years ago. 100% in agreement, bro. E-Rock. 196 live, just 66 thumbs up. Hit that like button. I agree with what E-Rock's saying. Hit that. We got over 200 people in the building. We're going to start getting in the 200s and 300s and hopefully 500s here soon. As soon as 4th of July hits, we usually get packed. Kobold, thanks again for the 5 gifted memberships. You're the man, the myth, the legend. And then I've got Garrett from Alabama on the phone. Justin, hang tight on hold, please. Garrett, you're live.
Yo, Smitty, good to hear from you again, man. I just had 2 quick questions about some draft movement that did or didn't take place. I was just curious if you heard about the Bears offered the Falcons, I believe, a 4th rounder to move up a spot to pick a Dunze, and the Falcons said no, thank you. So basically just turned down a free 4th rounder. And then the Rams tried to move up about 9 or 10 picks to get Brock Bowers. In front of the Raiders. Just wanted to see what you thought about that.
Yeah, we talked about that. Yeah, we talked about that on previous shows.
Okay.
Definitely.
I'm sorry about that, bro.
No. I mean, we have 2 3-hour shows. How could you listen to every single minute? I'm not expecting that.
I try, man.
You try. You do your best. You give it your college try. But I don't know. I mean, it's interesting that, the Bears wanted him badly. There's even video footage of polls being like, we want to get him. We need to be, they really wanted a Dunze. This is my fear the entire time. I did not want a Dunze going to Chicago. I wanted Marvin Harrison Jr. to go to Arizona, and then I wanted a Dunze. I would have been okay with a Dunze in Arizona, though. I love a Dunze. And as long as Marvin Harrison Jr. went like somewhere crazy like Buffalo and they traded up, or Indy traded up, or something to that degree. But I did want Marvin Harrison Jr. in Arizona more than really any other scenario. But my only other request, I didn't care about what else happened to anybody. I didn't even need Trey Benson on the Cardinals. I wanted a Dunze to go somewhere other than Chicago. And it just really pisses me off that he didn't get to go to Indy. He didn't get to go to Buffalo. Buffalo would have been a dream come true. Then both my 2 teams, Buffalo and Arizona. I want Buffalo to get a Dunze and Arizona to get Marvin Harrison Jr. I'd be on cloud 9 for a decade. So
how would you feel about Atlanta? What if Atlanta had taken him?
It was better than Chicago, but I mean that hurts London. London's got that top 6 running back or top 6 wide receiver appeal. 6, 5 to 7. I'd say he's capable of top 5, but like 5 to 7 more so. And that would kind of almost make it a Nico and Dell situation. So, I mean, there's pros and cons to all of it. I mean, here's the other thing, too, is can Caleb produce enough production like Fields did when Fields failed in Chicago to make DJ Moore great, to make a Dunze great? Yeah, I believe so. Like, just because I don't love Caleb long-term, winning Super Bowls, being in this league a long time as a starter, not bouncing around, failing out. What Fields ended up doing, I believe eventually Caleb could end up doing. Being somebody someone might still believe in. He goes to another team, but I don't believe he's going to earn this number 1 overall value. Me saying that Caleb won't work, or I don't believe he's the right guy, that this does not mean he can't linger in the league for a while. Doesn't mean he can't be a mediocre quarterback. He can't be Baker Mayfield, find a way to keep staying in the league and do well here maybe a little bit, and then he goes somewhere else. Like Baker went to the Rams, looked really good for like 2 games, and you never saw Baker, right? Like it kept going away. It kept coming and going. That's what Caleb could potentially be to me. I'm not trying to predict he can't play football in the NFL. I just don't think he's elite by any means whatsoever. I think JD5 blows Caleb Williams out of the water. I don't think it's even close. They're not even the same ballpark. JD5 is going to be a top 5 quarterback. He'll be better than Lamar Jackson on every single level of football. Running, passing, decision-making, everything. Everything. What do you mean, what? Well, what? Lamar's a mediocre passer. He's a mediocre to good passer. Jaden Daniels is
I'm not
every
gonna
bit
give
as
you
good of a runner.
Any heck on the throwing, but and I'll give you Jaden Daniels is close in a straight line. But man, I don't know if anybody's ever had the wiggle at running or at quarterback. Called him running back. At quarterback, good Lamar.
Bro, Jaden Daniels hasn't played a snap in the NFL yet. You could say that's a knock on my prediction, but you also can't say he's not going to do something. He had 1,134 rushing yards and 10 touchdowns in college while he
run
threw.
in a straight line. I love him.
He can run in a straight line. He ran for 11:34 and 10, bro. You don't run for a straight.
No. He's fast. He's good with that turn in the edge. But the thing is, once you get up to that next level, when you're playing with defenders who are all, super athletes,
we'll see.
Even more than the
we'll
SEC.
see, bro.
I have Jaden Daniels. I listen to you, bro. I picked him up. I love Jaden Daniels. I'm just saying, in a crowded room,
he's going to be so much better than Lamar Jackson. It's not even funny. So
I agree, passing-wise, no doubt. I just think
total.
the rushing numbers might not quite get there.
Some total. Jaden Daniels is going to be different than you think in the NFL. All right, bro. Anything else?
Appreciate it, brother.
All right, later.
No, that's it, Smitty. You have a great day.
Yeah. Justin, what's up? You're live, pal.
What's up, buddy? Hey,
yeah.
So I know you're a Bills fan. What is your take on is it puffed or stuff that Chase Claypool's having a good camp? And how do you kind of rank their wide receivers?
Let me ask you a question and give me an honest answer. When is the last time we've seen someone take as long as Claypool has been taking to develop and ended up developing? Like, give me a name. I'm not even saying there isn't somebody you can't pull out of a hat here. I'm just genuinely asking the question.
So, in terms of develop and be like a full-fledged, like, great wide receiver, nobody I can think of. Now, I will say that a guy like Ted Ginn, I don't remember how statistically it looked, but I remember when he went to Carolina, like, he was pretty good that one year when they went to the Super Bowl or whatever.
I would just say this, bro. How many times have we heard Claypool looks good at the preseason? A lot, or even the offseason. We've heard this before. But second of all, I would go with the numbers. I would go with the statistical data that is literally this thick.
Motion detected at the
You have
front door.
like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of cases where it never ends up happening. And this is another thing about Deshaun Watson. How can Deshaun Watson regain his top 5 quarterback status that he did have? He was a top 5 quarterback. His first year and a half, 2 years in the league, 100% was on the rise. Watson was a monster, but he stepped away from the game, or was forced out of the game, and just waited and fermented and sat there, came back stale. His head's a mess, like everything, nothing. There's no way to come back from that. The odds of Deshaun Watson returning to elite top 5 status after this big absence, especially when part of that absence of being top 5 was when he's been on the field, it's so slim to none. Not saying it's impossible, but you have so much data to show you that you don't just come around like Claypool or Watson. It doesn't happen. For running backs sometimes, not even wide receivers really, ever. In tight ends, not really either. Like running backs once in a while, there'll be a Mostert, there'll be a McKinnon, but it's not a long-term answer. It never is. It's always like a 1 year, one shot, boom, has this Cordell Patterson, boom. It's always a running back. But you tell me a wide receiver. You can't. So Claypool.
Cooper Kupp.
No. What do you mean Cooper Kupp?
Cooper Kupp didn't start out in the league very well, and he developed into a pretty good wide receiver.
That wasn't an absence of anything. Cooper Kupp was very early on. He ended up having an injury, his ACL, and then he came back and did really good his first year back from an ACL tear. But I wouldn't say he was garbage, at all beforehand. He was good. Never amazing for like multiple 3 or 4 years in a row. That was the knock on him walking into last year, is he was older and he didn't have this resume that everybody said he did. Like, oh, he's the best wide receiver for years. He really wasn't. But it wasn't like he wasn't good. He was really good. He had a really good year off the first year of his ACL. But I'm talking about Ron like a player that has been trash. He's supposed to be good. He's not. Supposed to be good. He's not. Jerry Jeudy comes to mind as well. Everybody thinking Jerry Judy's going to reemerge. When has he ever been able to do it? Never. You know, even like Odell, you could say, like, once a player was great but fell off, what are the odds Odell puts together a full year? Like, there's just so much, like, historical data behind this stuff. Like, you know that Odell's not going to deliver a full lengthy season. Claypool's not going to deliver a full lengthy season. I don't know. Good question, though. Let me go. Justin, you got anything else? You can stay on hold here if you want for a bit, and if you got another one, you can jump back in.
I appreciate it. Just wanted your perspective.
All right. Yeah, mute it real quick, and I'll come back to you. Travis, you're live.
You can let me go, Smitty. I got to eat my.
You got to eat your steak. Figures. All right, later, Ron. Go have a good steak dinner.
Later, Ron. I'm also going to tech out too. I'm about to head out.
You and Ron cooking steaks together, bunk beds.
Yeah.
All right.
Hands, welcome.
All right, later, Justin. Awfully coincidental that Ron and Justin both had to go grill a steak. Right. They're sitting there at the community barbecue, the HOA community barbecue. Yeah, it's crazy. Now, Chris, I'm starting to think you're a know-it-all because you definitely everything you say in here is anti this. And let me tell you, hey guys, gather around. Let me tell you what's actually wrong with this channel. Smitty, Daniels is going to get rocked. No MVP. Chris, you don't know what you're talking about. You've never seen, you don't even know what Daniels is. Daniels is a better quarterback than Lamar's ever been. And he's a better pocket passer than Caleb has ever been. He's the best pocket passer in the draft class. And he's the best pocket passer that's come out of college in the last decade, Chris. So, I don't know where you're getting your information, but it's clearly not correct. And you could say whatever you want about JD5. You will not be back to say, I was wrong. You'll vanish into the ether and never return like so many in the past. But whatever you want to you want to talk, bro. And same thing with this is probably your burner account here. With all these capital letters. Jaden Daniels is going to be better than the league's MVP at every level. This is a comedy show playing a character like Skip Bayless. Okay, Chiwi, we've never seen you here before. Kind of ironic. Hey, Chiwi.
That's,
Your Bijan card has been revoked.
That's how you know he's serious. All capitals.
I have one question for you. Read the room. Read the room, Pee-wee. Read the room and see what everybody else maybe thinks in the chat. See if you feel this is still a comedy hour. See if maybe you're the one that's actually the outlier in the room. Maybe no one else feels that you're correct, pal. Maybe you're the humor piece of this show and the comedian on the stage. Unbelievable. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead, Travis. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I don't know. I don't think Claypool is going to be anything like long term that he can really redeem his career like that. But I think for this 1 year, depending on the development of Keon Coleman and just how the offense is a little bit of a transition, I think you could fill that Gabe Davis role where he just runs straight lines down the field, catches long passes, and has the occasional spike games. I'm not even saying he can get 700 or 800 yards like Gabe Davis did occasionally, but I think there's a possibility that he fills that role.
Yeah. It'll be interesting.
I know a lot of people don't, but
it will be interesting for sure.
And I kind of discount like last year with the Dolphins. I mean, I think they traded for him at the deadline, but like he wasn't ever going to catch on that team. Like I think at this point he's just going to be like, if you can use him for his physical tools, find a role for him, he could do something with that. But that's about it.
Yeah. What do you think about the Panic Chamber episodes? You know what, Chi? If you don't want to be here, you don't have to be here. There you go. There you go. Now you can feel better about not having to suffer through a channel you just can't stand. And if Chris, that you wanted the same thing, Chris, I can make that happen for you as well. You just let me know. I'm here to serve. What do you think about the Panic Chamber peeps? You feel like Keenan Allen has any value at any point, like where you could potentially envision his ADP floating to, or is he, so far away from that line in the sand of liking him is he an avoid. And can Diggs float into a top of round 3 area, that would make you like it, or is he out? Because for me, I feel like I'm out.
I'm out, like 99% out. But like, what I will say is that I could envision a world where both of them are really good to start the season. But if I had them, I'd be trading off their value right away, because like Keenan Allen could be, because he's probably going to be playing the slot or closer into the quarterback, he could be a little bit of a safety blanket for Caleb at first. Just because if he's not going to be looking down the field or doesn't have as much time, or just because he's a good route runner. And then we saw what Stephon Diggs did first half of last year. So if he has any of that left, I'm not taking him. But I'm just saying, to play devil's advocate, I could see a world where in the first 3 or 4 weeks maybe they pop off a little bit and people go, oh, no, you were wrong, or oh, they still have value. They're old dogs, but they're still good. But if that happens, I'd be trading them right away.
I think
it's not going to last.
If Keenan Allen does end up having a good beginning, he is a big time trade candidate. Big time, like he should be traded before. I would say before he plays his 5th or 6th game, because even if he does play well, he's older. He will drop off. Mm-hmm. There's just no way he doesn't, in my opinion, at 32 years of age. It's crowded there too.
There'll be someone in every league, if they aren't the ones drafting him, that will trade for him. So, like, I'm not saying go out and have this big plan, draft him and trade him. But if somehow you end up with him on your team, if he's, if you get timed out, or if he drops in your draft and he's sitting there, like that. That's what I'd be planning on doing, because it's not going to last long.
He also, like I always tell people, when you have multiple red flags, it's time to run away. And when you have changing teams, never great for wide receivers. It's usually very, very rough to change teams. You got rookie quarterback. You got a team that doesn't develop rookie quarterbacks, or any quarterbacks for that matter. And then you've got a crowded wide receiver room, not by 2 but by 3. You bring in a running back that's a pass catching running back as well in Swift. And I just don't know how there could be enough consistency, even if he has a pop-off spike game here and there. It's like in best ball, I can understand it to your argument, but I don't really even want to play around with the idea of hoping he gets his ADP value back when I can just go draft somebody right alongside of him that I feel like is a glorious selection. Again, my case in point would be this, that Keenan Allen, instead of taking Keenan Allen, whenever other people are taking Keenan Allen, I will take Mahomes. And when I take Mahomes, that means that this person that took Keenan Allen is going to take a quarterback later. And while they're taking a quarterback later, I'm taking Jaden Reed. And my Jaden Reed and Mahomes crush this person's Keenan Allen and quarterback every time. And if it doesn't crush it, if I'm wrong, then at worst it breaks even. So that makes Keenan Allen a total avoid for me.
Right.
So that's the way my mind processes things.
That quarterback is going to have built-in risk, whether it's, and I know these are all quarterbacks who can score high, but like a Purdy or a Tua, or some people would say a Herbert, like I'll take the Mahomes and the Reed over Keenan Allen and Tua, or Keenan Allen and Purdy,
Perp's dropping a $50 holler wad. That's what it comes down to, though. It comes down to, is Keenan Allen capable of earning the ADP? Yes, but are you in a better, more advantageous position 10 times out of 10 to say, you know what, I'm going to go with a different position. I'm going Mahomes and Jaden Reed versus Keenan Allen and later quarterback. Every time it does, that argument wins for me every time. And if someone disagrees, that's fine. Jonathan Coble dropping 50. We got double 50s. We got bunk bed drops going on right here. Back to back. Hold on, let me see if I can adjust this. This is way too tall. We got back-to-back bunk bed drops right here. Coble and Perps they're pushing the bunk beds together. More room for activities. Let me hit the $50 holler for both of you right this very second. In fact, since you both dropped 50, and you're in the same vicinity, you're in the same bunk bed, that constitutes a $50 hauler, so I have to empty the briefcase.
$50. Give me $50 holler. Like that by the brother Smitty. Give me $50. Oh, yeah.
Perps, Coble, to the moon, and back. Briefcase is empty. Let me read these two super chats by these two absolute straight up monsters. Perp says, LOL, why are there so many clowns that want to be keyboard warriors? Shake my head at the end of the day. The haters are going to hate because they're not Smitty. Don't let the door hit you on the rear end on the way out. The Fantasy Football Show supporters and Smitty will rise above. Look, it's normal. Like, even the Chris guy, the other guy, I don't care. But I appreciate you, Perps, first of all. It does make anybody feel good when their people got their back or whatever. But, you know, like, it doesn't bother me at all. I deal with this every year. Every year. You imagine how many people, if you think back, we could count that were so hell-bent against my Gibbs take. Or how many people came in here on my Breece Hall take. How many people came in here on my Jalen Hurts take the year he broke out and he was a 6th, 7th round piece of garbage. Not saying I land everything, not saying that at all, but haters are going to hate. People want to pretend that they've got all the answers. They sit there in the chat and they try and tell the chat. They try to fantasy explain everybody. It's like they're anti-decoding the live stream and they think everybody's waiting for them to give their take. What he's talking about right now, this is the truth. What he's talking about right now, this is the truth. Those people are gone. Like, you're not gonna sit in the chat trying to drag the chat down. You can say what you want, but like, you're treading water here, treading very lightly. And you know, those people we don't need in the community. You're a negative Noah, you're gonna be gone. That's the plain and simple fact. Today's show pushed me to finally get the bold prediction list. JD5 finishes better than Lamar this season. By the way, Perps, you get a $50 prediction on the board. Finishes better than Lamar this season. Also wanted to hear Denny's angelic singing voice. Last time we fired that up, another best ball draft tonight. Yes, JD5, Smitty, and fantasy football community to the moon. Appreciate you. So JD5 outplays Lamar. That's Coble's prediction.
$50. Give me $50.
What is today? Today is the 19th.
$50. Oh, yeah.
Coble, JD5 over Lamar. 2024. Okay. Coble in the building. All right, what were you saying there, Travis?
I was just saying, like, still going on about saying he won't. Like I said, well, give a rather than just saying, oh, he can't be and he won't be better than Lamar. You know, give an opinion, give a reason to back it up. Like, why is that your opinion? Rather
They're just not ready to hear it. They're just not ready to hear it.
All you get for an answer is he won't. Just repeats it. You know,
Yeah.
It's like, well, that's just you just discredit yourself. You know.
First of all, keep in mind the pro Lamar people are very loud, and they seem like there's like 15 of them when there's 4 of them. You know, or there's 100 of them when there's. It seems like there's 100 when there's 2.
Squeaky wheel.
And they just sit there and they're like, "Here, guy, here's an MVP. Stop doubting him." Like, Lamar goes out and has a horrible, game or something, or a horrible year. Everybody jumps off the train really quickly. They're on and off the train constantly on the Lamar wagon. I think the Ravens did a great job bringing in Henry. I think his team will look really solid this year. They'll do very well. I think as long as Henry stays healthy, which is a big if though, but as long as he does, this will be a very good team. I think Lamar could even play a lot less he might not be as valuable this year fantasy-wise just because of Henry. Not because, as you said last night, Lamar didn't have a bunch of goal line touchdowns or anything, but the offense will run the ball a ton more than they used to. I believe they will. Todd Monken's going to design a lot for Derrick Henry. It's just going to be a more controlled, environment whereas it's not always Lamar putting the entire team on his back. And that could lead to a little less production. Doesn't mean Lamar can't be a top 6, 7 quarterback, top 5 to 7 quarterback. But I think it does kind of make Lamar outside my top 5. And there's just too many good quarterbacks to even like have an argument about that anyway. But yeah, people are wild. Like some people just aren't ready. Look, this is not your cookie cutter show. And if you can't handle somebody coming out here and telling you who the next Lamar is, then sit in your little cubicle, watch your cookie cutter show where their Excel sheet, Eric doesn't raise his voice at all. He's very calm. He's not yelling at anybody, Smitty. I don't like when you yell at me, whatever. Go watch your little cookie cutter show that talks about last year's stats and wait for them to say, oh, I guess this guy's the next Lamar. For anybody to think that JD5 can't be the next Lamar, you are very close-minded. And it's fine, but just don't be surprised when it happens and you say, damn, kind of should have listened to that one. JD5 is the next elite quarterback. Are we not supposed to, in the prediction business, try and predict who the next big top guy is? Is there somebody that's never going to take over the number 1 quarterback spot over everybody? Are you insane because you like AR5 in the top 4 quarterbacks? Are you crazy as a rookie for thinking AR5 would have climbed to the heights that he climbed right now, where he's a top 5 quarterback consideration? Like, what are people thinking? Right. Like, what do you want to watch? Do you want to watch a careful Caleb show, or do you want somebody that's actually trying to give you a leg up on everybody, but because you're too close-minded to hear it, you just don't want to hear it? Why you here? Like, even to Chris, why you watch the show? Like, why are you watching a show that's giving you this wild advice? Don't listen to it. I hope you don't. I'm sorry, Chris, but I hope you don't listen. I'm going to relish in the fact that you're not going to come back here because you're going to be afraid to. You're going to say, I don't want to go back there, and everybody's going to ridicule me because I was anti-JD5. And what you'll do if you do show up is say, no, I like JD5. I just wasn't ready yet, but I knew he had the talent to do it. Perp says, don't care.
You kind of...
You what? Go ahead.
I was just saying, you kind of already called that because he just said, I don't even like Lamar. I'm a Notre Dame fan.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Wild takes, Chris, or are they just ahead of the curve takes, Chris? That's what you got to figure out. That's what you got to decide on, because it sounds like right now you think I don't have my hands on the Gray's Book Sports Almanac. It sounds like you, Chris, don't think that you can make bold predictions. It sounds to me, Chris, that you work in probably quality control or some sort of cubicle desk job where you're taking it safe. You're playing it safe. You can't predict the future, Chris. You got to go off last year's stats, Chris. Yeah. I mean, it's uncomfortable until it's not uncomfortable. That's the way it is, Chris. You think that the Wright brothers were called crazy before they took flight? Do you think that it was nuts when somebody said that they were going to invent something that allowed them to talk to somebody across the entire ocean and FaceTime them when there was no communications? Everything is uncomfortable until it isn't, Chris. You got to decide whether you're here because you believe the insanity, or are you here thinking you're watching Skip Bayless? That's up to you, pal. I'm not here to convince you of Shiat. That's totally up to you. Be respectful when you're here, or you won't be here. That's the plain and simple truth. So decide whether you want to be here or not. I'll take your next few comments as a determination. How's that? Okay, Perp says, yes, I don't care either way, just sick of negativity. Yeah, and I didn't mean to suggest, Perps, that your comment shouldn't have been made. I appreciate it. I'm just letting everybody else know. They may think everyone thinks that I get mad or my feathers get ruffled. Like, this is my resting face. I'm a passionate person, and I will clap back so my community knows how I feel. But it doesn't bother me in the slightest. And I appreciate guys like Perps that'll come in and drop a $50 and $20 hauler to try and shut people up, which is a phenomenal way of saying I've got your six. Just sick of the negativity, and we're all here to have fun, get the latest NFL news, and help each other. The gray name says it all. Mic drop. Thank you, Perps. Appreciate you, my guy, dropping another $20 hauler.
Alert. Super chat alert.
There you go. Chris says you're soft, Andrew. Well, go watch a different show, Chris. There you go. I tried to tell him. I tried to tell him. I'm trying to say, calm down, be positive. He tells Andrew he's soft. So there you go. Rock out. Now that you're on the phone line, you're live. What's up, my guy?
Yeah, I want to opinion on my my zero RB strategy. First 8 picks.
Zero RB. Hit me with it.
Quarterback Jordan Love, running back Kenneth Walker and Stevenson, wide receivers AJ Brown, Debo, Pittman Jr. and Cooper, and tight end Laporta.
So you have Stevenson, Walker, AJB, Debo, Pittman. I like this squad. Maybe it's because I'm not a super huge fan of Cooper or Pittman, but I love everything else. I like what you got going on here. I even think Walker and Stevenson is really interesting. I like it. I think I've seen you build. I think you could build a better team, but it doesn't mean that this can't be. Is this in weeklies or what?
What is it? What is it?
Because that'll make a big difference. Overcome dropping a $20 Marathon. Okay. Yeah, I like it. If I was to construct, let's say, a zero RB team, this is kind of how I would envision the best team you could build off the top of my head for zero RB. So let's say you go Jamar Chase, which is where I like to try this approach when I get handed that big name wide receiver. Otherwise, I do go hero RB where I'm taking Bijan or someone like that. But I'd say Jamar Chase, I don't mind the Debo approach here, bro, at all. I don't think that's bad. I don't think that's crazy whatsoever. I think you could even go DK here, but this is probably where I say, give me that Jalen Hurts, and then all of a sudden I have top 5 wide receiver. Debo's capable of being a top 5 wide receiver. Hurts, top 1 to 2 quarterback. Maybe DK or Dell falls right here, and then maybe McBride. Okay, so this is like, does the chat agree? Does this look like a smash team right here if you were to go a zero RB? Then you get into the 6-round range, and you're talking about maybe Najee early so that you could get Warren with them, and sometimes you got to draft Warren ahead of them. Sometimes you can get Jonathan Brooks. Sometimes you can get a Zamir White. But this would be how I would potentially try and develop my zero RB team. I love the Najee Warren stacked together as one RB because then you're locked. You're safe as can be. Connor and Benson will be another one. Our cuffing board gives you a kind of an idea of what you can maybe be capable of doing. Zach Moss and Brown together would be phenomenal. Charbonnet and Walker is possible too, so I like that in combination with some of this. But this is how I would envision. And chat, let me know if you think this is championship caliber team right here. This is how I go zero RB.
Could also do Connor as well. Benson.
Connor Benson, as I said, I said that'd be great. But to land these perfect players, I don't force Pittman here. My team, I think, looks very different than that team because I would have went Hurts instead of Pittman. I would have went Mahomes. I would have taken this strong early quarterback to go with my 2 early wide receivers. And there's so much value at RB to smash zero RB. Zero RB running backs, Jacobs and Connor. You can't consider Jacobs a zero RB strategy, bro, because he's going way too early.
Going third.
That would be a late hero RB approach if you're throwing Jacobs in the mix.
Well, he fell so far, but I don't see that happening.
Perps, appreciate your $20 holler, my guy. You're the man, the myth, the legend. Perps dropping a 50. Copel dropping a 50. We got a Anthony $2 holler. Lamar will never win a Super Bowl, says Anthony. Thank you, Anthony, for dropping that. Perps, thanks again for dropping your $20 holler. Overcome with the 20 watt on screen. Overcome, appreciate you. I'm overcome with joy when I see your $20 holler.
Alert. Super chat alert.
Overcome says Smitty was pounding the table to stash Achane all off season last year. One solid call over many. My league mates had no idea whether you're right or wrong. The effort you put in with the community is spiritual. Thank you, Overcome. Appreciate that. You know, again, it's not a big deal. The only thing I ask these people that don't agree with what the show puts out is to be a productive member of the community in the chat. And if your objective is to come and disrupt and be a total nuisance on the chat, you're gonna be kicked out. Nobody wants that. Nobody cares for it. You don't have to agree with me. I've got an open phone line where you can call in and argue your point if you want. But there's no need to go in and try and infect the chat like at your workplace where everyone's like, this place sucks, right? You know, am I right? Am I right? Am I right? Don't we all want to get out of here? Am I right? Like, that's a toxic environment. I don't care if you disagree. I could care less. I have an open phone line. But if you're going to come and be toxic, you're going to get thrown out. Plain and simple. That's just the way it is. And this $5 hauler from Caribbean says, hey, Smitty, what do you think of making an auction team of just third and fourth rounders, Achane Kelsey? It's probably my favorite, most talked about strategy. So you've missed that episode, but I'll do a whole video dedicated to this. But I always tell people in an auction, don't go near CMC, not because of bust fear or disappointment, because his cost is too high. Who are the running backs people are sleeping on? Achane, Kyren, Jacobs. These, you could go get Jacobs, Achane, and Kyren at the cost of CMC and a little bit more money. So you grab these guys, now all of a sudden you can get big time wide receivers, or do the same thing, DK, Devontae Smith, and then you get yourself a big name quarterback, or you go after an AR5, or you better yet go get JD5. Get JD5, and then you'll find another quarterback like Aaron Rodgers for $2, and you'll have JD5, and you'll probably have receivers that could equal maybe top 5 to 7 type wide receivers with these RBs. So auction drafts are always better not to go after the top guy. Find the values and bid on those values, but never call the player out. You want to make sure everybody's spending money. So when you're on the clock, don't say Achane, because then the money's going to be spent on them. You want your players to be called out deep into the draft when people are penny pinching and worried about, oh God, I overspent. Now I'm not going to, go do that. But I agree with a lot of the names that you put on screen. Rock out. What else you got? Hello? Hello? Travis, what else you got?
What do you think about Chris Godwin this year?
This question comes up a lot. This question comes up a lot. I think there's a lot of people talking about Chris Godwin right now because he could be moving back into the slot a lot and getting potentially more targets, but I guess it depends on the cost of entry. I find myself, again, answering this question in a very simple manner. Are there better players around his ADP? And the answer is always 100,000% yes. So it's not so much that I think he's a bad pick. It's not so much that I am predicting he won't do well. Somebody will come back in here and go, told you, Smitty. Not saying he's going to do bad. I'm just saying there is enough risk involved that if I'm wrong, I'm still breaking even. If I'm right, I'm crushing you because I'm taking a different player I believe in more, that I believe in is safer. And Godwin going at 62 overall, that is just too rich for me. I think it's not a horrible place for him, but when you're talking about Jaden Reed being right there, you're talking about Keon Coleman, who I just think Keon Coleman's a better option than Godwin personally. You got a Ridley, JSN, a Christian Watson's risky, but I like Christian Watson more than Godwin. I think, we're banking on that they figured out his hamstring issues, and maybe they didn't, and it's a big risk to take. But is Godwin any riskier? Or any less risky? I'd say probably no. He's probably just as risky because he hasn't really been the same player, and is he gonna rejuvenate? Is he going to suffer injuries? He's always been kind of an injury risk. So it's not that I don't like him. I'm not telling you to avoid him, but give me those other guys ahead of him. And when we're talking about Godwin's 62 ADP, it doesn't always have to be a wide receiver. I could just say Chris Godwin's going in the round or two below. So I'm not taking Christian Watson where Godwin's going. Now I'm going to go a different position instead of Godwin and then pick up my wide receiver lower. So who's going at 60 overall in the running back territory? Rashad White, Alvin Kamara, Najee Harris, Jonathan Brooks, Zamir White. Give me Zamir White and Christian Watson over Godwin and the later running back. Smash. And if I'm wrong, I break even.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? That's just one man's.
Yeah, I hear you.
That's just one man's opinion. Superfish says, want to back everyone up. This is a great group. This is the best place for thinking outside the box and having fun while doing it live. Totally appreciate you, Smitty, and the chat folks. Best around. Thank you for the $20 holler. Superfish going to the moon.
Alert. Super chat alert.
Thank you, Superfish. Appreciate you dropping that $20 holler. What's up, Rockout?
Is the draft filled up for the Patreon?
No, we still got spots. I sent out invites to League 1, League 2, and League 3. That means that the top 66 people, or the first 66 people to sign up, have gotten their invite. I'll work on leagues 4, 5, 6, 7. You what?
Was that on the email?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you were in the third group or not. I forget when you signed up, but you're right on that edge of that third or fourth group, I think. So check your email. If you didn't get one yet, you'll get one for the next league.
Oh, okay.
There'll be 11 leagues of 22 people. Chris says, is Scary Terry a sleeper this year? Absolutely. Hasn't really done much the last 2 years, but the potential risk is there and all the change. Yeah, I mean, look, if Aiyuk lands in Washington, it kind of kicks that in the sack. But it doesn't mean he can't be good, but it becomes a Diggs, Dell, Nico situation, and then you just have like maybe inflated values for some of the wide receivers. Aiyuk also is best friends basically with JD5, so the rapport would be through the roof. There's no like, oh, will he target him though? Yeah, he will. Like they talk. Jaden Daniels said he FaceTimes JD5 said he FaceTimes Aiyuk 2 or 3 times a day. So they're fast friends. That's why I think a trade's going to happen, because they have the cap space for it. They're trying to make Jaden Daniels a monster, and they're going to do everything in their power to give him not only what he wants, but what they think he needs. And I imagine those two things are aligned on this topic anyway. So it'll be very, very intriguing once this goes down. It's going to come down to draft capital. I think the Niners may be waiting for an offer they can't refuse. I don't blame them. But hopefully this thing happens quick, because even a holding out Aiyuk that gets eventually traded is still an injury risk if he doesn't get in there really quickly. But if no trade happens, then McLaurin to the moon. Reminds me a lot of, DJ Moore before Fields, right? He had nobody. He constantly, DJ Moore's just trickling out decent production. We always thought he was really good. McLaurin's the same way. He gets JD5, and I mean, he could be a top 10 wide receiver. I would say like top 10 to 15. Give yourself a big wide range of expectation, because he could be 15, not because he's not barely almost right there, but there's so many good receivers that, I mean, it's hard to, like, when you start breaking down the top 10, even if you're expecting big numbers out of McLaurin, it's really hard to put him in that top 10. You're almost like, damn, I guess, 15's close to 10, but he's number 15 for me. He's number 12 for me. He's number 17. Like, I'm not saying he's in my top 10. I'm just saying, does he have the ability to dance with top 10 wide receivers every other week or every third week? Yeah, for sure. Is he going to finish in the top 10? I'd say no. But can he get a 1,200, 1,100 yards and 8 or 9 touchdowns and be a really damn good wide receiver too? Absolutely, bro. Madden curses in real life. is real and still alive. Tread lightly with Christian McCaffrey, says Isaac. And, that is something to talk about. I know a lot of people want to throw the Madden curse to the wind, especially if they're a Niner fan. But, it's definitely not something you want. I'm not saying that the Madden curse feels the same as it always was. But it's certainly, you can't tell me you want your player on the Madden cover. As much as it's been debunked, I guess, more so than not lately, you don't want it. You don't. You just don't. When I'm looking at the Madden cover and let's say they put Achane on it, I'm gonna come out here just like Christian McCaffrey owners are and be like, look, it's not, but like you don't want it. It's just another layer of unwanted news or negative, angle. I'm not saying he can't, overcome it. I'm not even saying it's real, but it's certainly not, invited into the I don't know, the situation. McLaurin ADP on Underdog is wide receiver 31. I don't think he's a sleeper, but he might be the safest wide receiver to hit his ADP or exceed it by 8 to 10 spots. So let's look at his ADP on Underdog. On Underdog, he is sitting around, overall, McLaurin is, damn, Tank Dell is so low. He's right at the, actually, he did climb. Never mind. Tank Dell climbed to 35, so he's breaching round 3 now. It's still good value, but I like Tank Dell in round 4 more than anything. Okay, let me go McLaurin. McLaurin 49 overall. I like Jaden Reed a little more. I like Hollywood about the same. I could divide those up and take one in each, of the different leagues. And and then at that point I'm maybe going across position. But I think that's about right. There's just a couple wide receivers that I like a tiny bit more. That's it. I don't think it's anything different. Okay, hit me, Calvin. Appreciate you dropping that. Okay, what else we got here? Travis, any other thoughts, especially as it relates to Panic Chamber?
Yeah, would you say Aaron Jones is a panic chamber, or are we just out on him? Like, I'm out on him, but do you hear enough people liking him, or is he just kind of a fade?
Aaron Jones, he will 100% be on my next Panic Chamber episode. I just couldn't fit him in. Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
So he's in the list.
Definitely avoiding Aaron Jones. Yeah, Aaron Jones is a really, really bad likelihood of working out. He's an older player, he's very injury prone in general, and he's escaped injury for multiple years. He's had good little spurts without injury. I get that. But boy, is he an injury risk at an older age in an offense that we don't even know if he's getting all the volume. They like Ty Chandler a lot. Ty Chandler finished the year strong, very good momentum. So it's not like he's just going to have his job ripped from under him. But all the work ripped from under him. Even if they say Aaron Jones is our starter for sure because he's a veteran. It was kind of a weird, questionable move for the Vikings. Like, you're going younger, and then you bring in Aaron Jones. Like, I get it. You maybe want to develop it, but I mean, I just think it's crazy.
Yeah, I like Ty Chandler. Chandler and Chase Brown are two guys I really like down in that range of guys. What's his name? Jerome Ford too. Obviously, we've talked about him.
Yeah.
Trying to think about who else on the Panic Chamber. Come back to me. There was someone else I had a question about, but I can't.
All right, John, you're live.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are down on Keenan Allen, but if you can get him in like the 6th or 7th round, or if he falls really far, and then you're able to cup him with Caleb, and then possibly get DeAndre Swift, are you willing to do that?
No, I'm not. I mean, for the same reason I said earlier why I wouldn't, is that there's just better options on the table. It's not like I don't think it could work out for you. But if it does work out for you, I don't feel bad. I don't feel like I gave bad advice. I sleep like a baby. I'm drafting players I believe are just better than Keenan Allen at Keenan Allen's ADP. Again, it comes down to, would I rather have Mahomes or Hurts, where you're getting Keenan Allen, and you say if he falls to round 6, then, I mean, it maybe could be the AR5 is sitting there. Or maybe it's a running back like I'd rather have Najee and then Christian Watson, or Najee and Jaden Reed, or Najee and somebody like that, versus going Keenan Allen and missing out on the running back that I want. So at the end of the day, it's not that you're wrong. It's not that Keenan Allen can't deliver. But that's how I feel, bro.
And then out of that, I think it's like round 6, maybe round 7, where all the running backs go. They're like second tier. Ramondre, White, Moss. I think Najee goes a little earlier than that. Out of those 4, 5, 6 RBs in that group, which one are you like really, really trying to get?
Of which one? Same again?
I think Najee, Ramondre, White, Moss. Not White, but Moss.
I like them. I like them all. Let me just show you. Okay, so we got Zamir. You got Zach Moss. You got Najee. Najee kind of comes with Warren, though. You know, you almost have to. I don't know that I go there if I can't cuff him. You know, and Connor and Benson, I kind of want to cuff him if I go there. Or I just draft Benson. But I love this combination. Like, how do I rank these guys? It's tough, bro. It's almost one of those things, like I said, you go into the next draft and you try the different approach. And you go into the next one, you try the different approach. I love all of them. They all have their upside and their risk level and everything. But, you know, if I had to, like, if you're forcing me to answer, I'd say give me... Damn. I kind of like Zamir White standalone. Combination-wise, I feel like this Warren and Najee's equal to the Connor Benson. I think Chase Brown is definitely a nice cuff as well. These are all good, bro. These are all fantastic. I don't know. I almost want to say, like, my risk-driven Smitty wants to say, give me this Benson value. Like, I want this, but I'm a Cardinal fan. I don't think I'm biased with this either, though. I think this is unrelated. But I'm so excited about what I believe the Cardinals are going to do. This is phenomenal. Zach Moss and Brown is pretty good too, but I just think the Cardinals, they're proven to use their RBs. They always get good production out of Connor. I don't know that I trust Arthur Smith, but I still love the combination. But in best ball, I like this more because Arthur Smith could screw you and give Warren all the work, but in best ball, you're taken care of. So if it's non-best ball, the Najee Warren is probably third. In best ball, it could be first. So it's very dependent on the format. Zamir White, I love him, but stand alone. There's not really a cuffing situation really there. Zach Moss, best ball, probably similar, right? Best ball, you don't have to choose. It's whoever scores the most. This right here is protected. I think Connor Benson's the safest of the quad here in non-best ball because you'll know if Connor's the guy. You'll know if Benson's the guy. You might get screwed on the transition if Connor gets hurt and then you had Connor in, but I mean, it is what it is. But this would be my non-best ball favorite of this quad here.
I appreciate it. And I have another question, 2 questions. When you're drafting RBs, you're not really trying to cuff them to quarterbacks as much as you're trying to cuff wide receivers, quarterbacks, correct?
In best ball?
Correct.
In non-best ball, I'm not trying to cuff anybody. Just so you know, sometimes it's a disadvantage in non-best ball, but in best ball, it's a pass catcher. So the main objectives in best ball draft, and I'll go over this in a video, but if you want to smash a best ball draft, bro, if you can naturally, organically, without forcing it, chew gum and walk at the same time, not affect your talent level you're bringing in. You're not just stacking and drafting a worse team because you want to stack. If you can get the QB with one of the pass catching players, wide receiver or tight end, some cases like Kincaid would work, that is ideal. And then if you can also astutely grab a opposing player, anybody really, in the week 17 matchup Then you have what you would call this, there's different names for it, but it would be the week 17 correlation, the game stack is what a lot of people call it. So if you can game stack, let's say in week 17 we've got Philly and Dallas. So if you do something along the lines of Hurts and AJB, and then you've got Ferguson as your tight end. Like, that is a game stack. That is if you get to the final. Now think about this though. This is why it doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense to plan around this and be your absolute like objective, right? Is this doesn't help you get into week 17. You have to not affect your ability to get in and then be sitting in the finals with the other, depending on the tournament you're in, 900 people or 200 people or whatever the tournament is. You have to be there and happen to have all of it lined. You made it into the finals and now you're sitting there with game stacks. So it's important to do it if you can, but you can't screw up your ability to get there, because if you can't get there, who cares what you have in week 17? You can't even use it. So that's a game stack. That's important. The running back stacks, it depends. It's case by case. It's not something that in general I would say is the best thing to do. The only other thing that I can advise you of is it's really intriguing to do this, and I'll have a video on this, but if you were to go, let's say 2 QBs, you can even do this with 3, but if you go 2 QBs and you get a pass catcher, and then you have your backup quarterback. So like, let's say you go Mahomes here and you go Hollywood here. Okay, so you got Hollywood, and then here you go, let's call it JD5. So JD5 as your second quarterback, and this isn't 1 QB. It's obviously the same in Superflex, but what I'm trying to give you is an advantage in 1 QB on top of anything else is if you get JD5 and let's say you get McCaffrey. Okay, so now you have, not only do you have a quarterback stack, you have your backup quarterback stack. So if for any reason in week 17, and it doesn't really affect too much too, right? You're not like drafting the wrong players to get this weird stack. In week 17, you have 2 chances to have a team go off and give you that correlation or whatever. But you got to be careful with it. It's definitely not something I even hesitate to tell people to even focus on stacking too much when they first start, if they're trying to learn best ball, because you're trying to chew gum and walk at the same time. You might want to just start building the best teams you possibly can, and then once you get really versed in it, you can start mixing in stuff, and you're basically, it's like nothing, it's like you're riding a bike and reading a book. If you're learning how to ride a bike for the first time and you're trying to read a book, you're going to crash. So that's the way I would probably best explain it.
I appreciate it, because I know a lot of people they'll do what you just say, but then they'll get to the week 17 and half their team won't be playing. So you'll be playing against like where all 17 or all 16, however many rounds you're in, you're playing against a team that has a full roster and half your guys are out.
Yeah, and then you'll hear other things where people are like, like here's the thing is, winning a best ball tournament sometimes is about having, not always, but sometimes having that player that no one else has, right? So you have some variance, you have a different team, you have something that other people don't have. So like in the case of Ricky Pearsall, I love Pearsall. He's going super late. A lot of people will own him. He's getting drafted, but how many people will have him in the grouping of people that make it, to the final round or the second last round? So the fear is if he doesn't do anything, and he doesn't do anything at all, you're getting a 0 out of him, and your team is just got kicked in the nutsack, and you have a little bit less likely chance of even going to the, passing through round 1, because you have somebody that's dragging your whole team down. You have a less likelihood of a player to pop. The people that have more options and shots in the dark are going to have a better chance than you. Not saying you can't do it. There's been teams, I made the finals with like 3 injured players. Like, you can do it. It's just a lot harder. And that's the other thing is percentages. It's not no or yes, or you advance or you don't advance. It's that, hey, there's a 20% chance if you do this versus a 12. Like, that's the thing that makes me like literally laugh my ass off when people start saying you have to take Burrow and Chase together. You can't draft Chase without Burrow. Why? So my 20% according to last year goes down to 12? Like, you gotta be kidding me. These people are wild. But Pearsall, here's the thing. I always hear people say this too. It drives me nuts when they say your odds of winning are better if you draft later. There is data to prove that, correct. But who's to say you aren't the one person that can infiltrate the shit out of the early drafting and say you guys don't see it coming? This is the kind of channel that will tell you to get Pearsall and put a lot of eggs, not all your eggs, but a lot of eggs in maybe one tournament basket. And then if Pearsall ends up starting because they trade Aiyuk away, your early jump on it is why you've got a better shot than everybody now out of the gate potentially, because you've got this monster here. So you can look at it however you want. This data tells people to do something because of last year, this year, whatever. I like to do what works for me, and you eventually have to decide that for yourself. Are you good at building running back teams? Who gives a shit about what the data says if you smash at late wide receiver drafting? Go against traffic. Go get the Legettes and the Malachi Corleys and the Ricky Pearsalls on the end of your bench, and go get your smashes and JSN and McLaurin or whoever you feel is going to outperform everybody's expectation. And then you've got the best running backs and quarterback little stack that anybody can find, and you smash your wide receivers. And you're one of the people that's inside the 5 or 10% that made it through, a much smaller percentage, but it's still there. So that's all I'm going to say about best ball. This whole, the data drives me nuts. I appreciate the data. I am not a no data guy. And people say that a lot about me. Smitty, I know you're not a data guy, or I know you're not a stats guy. I'm a total stats guy. I'm a total stats geek. I just go live for 2 or 3 hours a day in each individual show, sometimes 5 and 6 hours sum total a day. I can't just put up spreadsheets all day long. A lot of it's here. A lot of it I spit out in this kind of communication to you guys, but people are overdoing it. They're trying to play with a blindfold on based on their Excel sheet from last year. And that's not the way the world works.
Appreciate it, Smitty. I have one more question. Who do you think is going to be the starter for Vegas? O'Connell or Minshew?
Minshew.
Have a great night, Smitty.
All right, later, bro. Never know. But... All right, Travis.
I had a question actually kind of related to that. Who do you think has a better chance at taking over the job? O'Connell from Minshew or Rattler from Carr?
Rattler.
Think so?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, I don't know that either one is a really good bet to take the job like in week 1 if there's no injury, but I think to answer the question a little bit differently with explaining it, I would say I believe that Rattler will be the better insert of the offense, and then I think it may not even happen earlier though. But I think it'll be a better overtaking.
Yeah, because I think Rattler's better than O'Connell, but I think Carr's better than Minshew. I mean, I know a lot of people probably wouldn't say that, but I think a healthy Carr is better than Minshew, personally.
Yeah.
Do you like Carr or Minshew better?
Minshew has a better shot at hanging on to the job all year, I would probably say. It doesn't, like Minshew getting hurt or something, like that's why I say I don't know. But Rattler might have a tougher time getting in there if Carr's like playing okay and healthy. But I think that if they start losing, they're just going to be like, put him in. Let's see what we got. What are they going to do? Keep putting Carr out there for what? For what purpose? So O'Connell, I don't know if they feel that way anymore about him. Like to where they're like, well, we better put him. They've already played him. Right. So even if they're not winning, they may keep Minshew in longer. But Minshew has Carr's got as much of a likelihood of getting hurt, though. I don't know. It's a tough one. I'd say even. Yeah, even Steven. Paper, rock, scissors.
Carr was hurt all last year.
Yeah, paper, rock, scissors.
And last thing was, I think I know the answer, but you like Olave over Neighbors still, right?
I like God, that's tough. I like Neighbors a lot. I don't want this to sound like I don't, But I mean, you have even like this piece of news here. So Daniel Jones has never had a receiver over that surpassed 800 yards. Kind of alarming, kind of alarming. I don't know that I'm about that. I think as much as I want to believe that Neighbors can, take control of throw the ball to himself, snap the ball, throw it up, go run under it, catch it. He's kind of capable of that. I don't know that I can, in good conscience, say that I could envision this guy getting 8 touchdowns. So at the end of the day, give me Olave. I also believe in Rattler enough right now that I feel pretty confident in that if Carr doesn't get unseated by Rattler, and at least we get this new shot at seeing if this guy, let's say he makes bad decisions or he's got a really shaky rookie year, maybe he just laser locks on Olave and throws downfield. He's certainly got the ability to throw it. I put it up on my Instagram. He's throwing some missiles all over the field. I like what I'm seeing. And I think he's bold and bold enough to throw and be fearless downfield. I just don't know that I see any sort of quarterback like that on the entire Giants roster. So how is it going to happen? I don't know that it's happening for Olave. If Rattler fails, then Carr would go back in. So no matter what, I feel like there's competent quarterback play. I do not feel that way about Neighbors. So give me Olave.
Right.
But, I mean, I've drafted Neighbors a couple times in best ball lately because he's fallen a little bit in certain tournaments, and I'm not hating it. Like in Superflex especially, he'll fall a little bit further. I'm not hating it, but I also don't know how I feel about it. Whereas Olave, I'd have been much happier if Olave fell to me and he didn't. So that kind of answers the question right there. Okay. Who would I envision wanting more?
So I guess my last question connected to that would be like, so then if that's the case, are you taking Neighbors or are you taking number 2 wide receivers on their team like a Waddle or Higgins?
I'm taking Neighbors over Higgins. I'm taking probably Waddle over Neighbors. But
they
it's
have
close.
Better QB situations, but they're the number 2 on their team.
Yeah, it's close. Yeah. But that does put into perspective that Neighbors is not a wide receiver 1. He is an elite wide receiver 2, even though he's the wide receiver 1 on his team. His ability to hit a wide receiver 1 fantasy wise potential seems very slim. Like, I don't think it's impossible. Again, not everything has to be Smitty said this, he's completely wrong about it. I'm not saying that he can't be. I'm not saying don't trust your gut in one league. But like, if you were to map this out, this is 100%, this is 0. I would say the likelihood of him being a top 10 wide receiver has got to be like in the 20% range. So it's still possible, but there's just nothing here in this space to signify to me that he's going to get the volume he needs to do it. Especially, think about it from this perspective. If Danny Dimes can't get a player to 800 yards and he's throwing lesser accurate, worse passes, the percentage of good balls that he can actually haul in are lower. So there's just, the volume's not going to be there. Whereas if Rattler, we don't know if Rattler can do it. If Rattler can't do it, well, then Carr would go back in. Or maybe Taysom Hill would. I mean, we don't really know, but at least there's options there that I think if the option's not working, they cycle to the other one. The Giants don't have that. So there's at least a 50% chance, which is much better than Neighbors, that we find a very good solution. And then there's the other percentage chance that we don't, but he's still just as good as Neighbors. So could they be the same at the end of the day? Yeah, but is the likelihood a little bit better? Just a little bit better that we're gonna get Olave to find a potential gem solution for his target share, because I really do believe Rattler, if he didn't have that football documentary, what was it called again?
Quarterback
QB1 or whatever it was.
I forget.
If that didn't come out, I think he would have been taken higher. I think that there were about 4 or 5 teams or less, maybe a little less, that wrote him off their board.
Cross him off the list.
Like,
Yeah,
it's like
that's
really
awesome.
off of, like, he must have been. I didn't even see the pieces of it that, like, to be honest with you, what he
was
said.
young.
What was it that? Does anybody
wasn't-
know what he said? That made, what was the specific thing that made teams run away from him? Does anybody know? I know he was immature. He was a lot younger. I get it, but to write him off, he got written off of a couple opportunities that would have drafted him, early. So I just think he's got the potential to be a top 4 quarterback from this draft class.
The clips I always see them play of it, I mean, maybe there's something else that I missed, but it's like him, like, kind of trash talking and like saying like to someone's face that they're trash, like another quarterback, kind of being a jerk. But I mean, what was he, 17 years old or something? Like, he's so young. And I mean, maybe someone in the chat will put something else out there that happened that was unforgivable, but I don't remember seeing anything like so egregious that I would say
can't
the team
speak
would write
to
him
it.
off completely.
I can't speak to it 100%. Does anybody in the chat know what it was specifically that he? Let me see if I can look it up real quick. So Rattler.
Yeah, and while you're looking that up, I was at first with the Daniel Jones thing. I was going to say, well, he hasn't really had many great pass catchers, but in today's football, over the course of a 16 or 17 game year, if you can't have one 1,000-yard receiver over the course of 5 years or whatever, that's brutal.
Yeah. Does anybody know what he said exactly? He said, "Go cry in your mother's lap." I say that. No one wants to draft me. Is that all he said? Is he made fun of Caleb crying in his mom's lap? That can't be. Some of these coaches are tougher than that. There's got to be something else. I think a coach wouldn't. I don't think the coaches are tougher than that. I don't think that's it. That couldn't be it. If someone came to me and said, "Hey, we don't want to draft this kid. He made fun of Caleb crying in his mama's lap like a baby," I'd have been like, "Okay, what did he say? What part was wrong? What did he say something? Because all you told me right now is that he said Caleb shouldn't cry in his mama's lap on the field." He said, "Go cry in your mama's lap."
Says, Ian Rappaport said, "It's unbelievable how many different teams mentioned to me the image of him in that show and how they can't get it out of his head."
Yeah, I heard a lot of that. Young says that he came off as a super arrogant punk in that one show, blaming all of his wide receivers, tearing people down, not supporting them. I mean, but he was so young then. Like, did they feel like it hadn't changed? Did they? Maybe that's it. Maybe they interviewed teammates in college and they're like, "Yeah, he's the same way." Like, and then I could understand it a little bit. But if that was like back then and they're not hearing any of that now, I don't know. I think people may have dropped the ball on this one. I think the Saints were smart to grab him. This is why I said that I couldn't believe the Raiders didn't, when they missed out on getting Penix Jr. because they slept at the wheel, they didn't trade up, they didn't get aggressive. I said to myself, they're taking Joe Milton or Rattler. They have to. And they didn't take a chance on either one. I would have taken both of them. If I was the Raiders, I would have taken Rattler and Joe Milton. I would have done what the Patriots did. Joe Milton and May, you took them both. Why not? Why not take a stab at both of these kids? And if you get something, that pops, you got your Brock Purdy. You got your QB that you could build around for a few years before you got to level up their contract. I don't understand.
Yeah, it's funny the way teams will just write guys off completely. Like, I understand some things, obviously. Like some of these guys that have been in car accidents and killed people in car accidents. Well, granted they're still young, but all right, we don't want to deal with that crap. But I don't know. It almost makes you feel like there was something that they didn't show on the show, something that happened.
Maybe.
during the filming of it that they didn't put in, but it's like I can't say that because I don't know that for sure.
I mean, at 17, I was a little prick. I mean, I don't know.
I think everybody, if you look back, you've said or done something you kind of wish you could.
I mean, yeah, I mean,
it's pretty much.
Some would say I'm a prick now. Calvin says, "Hey Smitty, if a team has a below average QB at the end of the day, it all comes down to coaching and offensive scheme. I trust Minnesota more than New Orleans, Las Vegas, or the Giants." Look, Calvin, I appreciate your take, and I to some degree will agree with you, but I think it's not so simple that it's a balanced like scale. It's kind of like the argument of the serial killer. What made him, the nurture or the nature? A serial killer could be brought up in the best family known to man, so the nurture was good, but his nature, his DNA, his innate instinct for bad overpowered it. Or a person could have really good nature, and they get abused by their parents, and then and they become a monster. So it's not as simple as the environment versus the makeup of the person or the skill set. It's not like black and white. It's not, you can't replicate it and say, oh, well, this happened here, that'll happen there. It's a combination of some things overpowering the other. It's the whole psychology in nature versus nurture, which I love to bring the psychology to the channel. And it's a very, very common discussion that we've had, and I'll do some series on it in the future here. I'll even write down to make sure I'm doing more psychology videos. But psychology of the nature versus nurture. Whose environment is too overpowering for any quarterback to develop? Let me give you a hint of somebody we've seen that happen with. Justin Herbert. And Justin Herbert's now shoved into another situation where he's going to be limited. And it's not his fault. He could be a top 5 quarterback. I think people think I don't like Herbert. And that's not true, because we had this we made during his rookie year.
Herbert is the go. He'll put you in the throw. Herbert is the go. He'll put you in the throw.
We loved Herbert. We still like Herbert, but Herbert unfortunately lives in a world where his nurture is not allowing his nature to thrive. So that is correct in your thinking here, but I don't know that you can say JJ McCarthy will blossom into a amazing flower just because he's in the right environment. He may only grow so big, bro. I appreciate your take, and I think he could be a good quarterback potentially. I just don't know that the volume will be there. He's not a Kirk Cousins volume machine. He's maybe a system guy, because he developed and played in a system. He won a championship in a system where he wasn't asked to win the game. He wasn't asked to take over games. He wasn't asked to throw the ball a ton. That's why I think it's one of those situations. But yeah, the fact that he can't beat out Darnold isn't great, but it doesn't necessarily mean he's done because of it. It just means that they're going to try it out. And if Darnold fails miserably, then JJ McCarthy has nothing to worry about, and no one looking over his shoulder. It's probably the better scenario. I like that for Drake May too. I don't want Drake May to go in. I'm sure Travis doesn't either. Fail a little bit and then take him out. Like, put in Brissett, and if you're winning games, you keep him in. If Brissett plays and doesn't win games, it doesn't matter if he's playing well. They'll take him out, and they'll put in Drake May. If Derek Carr plays well, they won't take out Rattler. That's why I like Olave more than I like Neighbors. I don't think we're getting any good play in New York. And I don't think New York's a bad coaching environment. Dable's the one that created Josh Allen. So it's not like I do question Dable's ability to sign the right quarterback and then, find them. Because how in the hell do you let this happen? You give Danny Dimes this big fat contract, and it doesn't sound like he was strong-armed into that. It sounds like he made that decision and had a big hand in it.
Odd.
So, I mean, but if you give him the right quarterback, Dable is actually the kind of coach that could turn somebody into a monster. He did it with Josh Allen, but I don't know. Like Shane Steichen, look at Shane Steichen did with Jalen Hurts. Shane Steichen's now in Indianapolis doing the same damn thing he did with Jalen Hurts with AR5, and AR5 is going to be an absolute rising star. Marsman,
He's on a shuttle to Mars. Mars men.
All right, I'm gonna wrap it up here. Rock out, final words. Thank you, Kelvin.
Yeah, so you're only taking Olave if he hits the third round?
Am I taking who in the third round? What?
You're only taking Olave if he gets in the third?
Yeah, top of the third, I'm okay with it. Let me just put it this way. Third drafted player. Olave is my third drafted player, but do I smash it every single time? No.
Right.
All eggs in one basket. Let me just tell you this, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I definitely don't promote it, but because I have the caveat that I'm willing to risk the biscuit, I'm willing to have my entire season crash to the ground on the level of thousands of best ball drafts, dozens of non-best ball drafts. I could give two craps about failing because I've been doing this a long time. I have those years where I will put all my eggs in a Breece Hall basket, and then Breece Hall tore his ACL. I still won a lot of championships, to a degree, but that was a bad year for me, you could say, statistically, because I had all my eggs in the Breece Hall basket. But that's okay. I had a lot of eggs in the Jahmyr Gibbs, the Achane, and Bijan didn't work out, but he's still running back 9. That lost you no championships. If you lost your championship because Bijan didn't play like a top 3 or 4 overall pick, you shouldn't have been taking him one we didn't need to. And we said that most of the offseason. The last week, I think we came out and we're like, let it ride. Just grab Bijan on as much as you can in best ball real quickly. But for the most part, we were saying, I like Bijan more than anybody, but get away with what you can. That's always been the message. But if you lost your league because of Bijan, or you think you lost your league because of Bijan, you didn't. He still scored like running back 9 numbers. That's fine. But Breece Hall, I put a lot on the line on Breece Hall last year, and I won a lot. So I'm totally okay with that. And so an all eggs in one basket player for me would be Kyron in round 3, Achane in round 3, Hurts in round 4, Mahomes in round 4 or 5. Like when I see that, I just can't help myself. And I can't stop drafting it. And if it crashes and burns, I'm fine with it. I don't lose a single wink of sleep because you know what happens if it lands? I've got so many shots at winning different best ball tournaments. I've got 55 versions of this league. I got 112 versions of that league. And I have a feeling if I land, I don't know. I think someone from our community that does a lot of oversaturation, we're going to have big years, and then sometimes injury is going to strike us. But I think somebody from a community connected to us, or somebody that's in a community, inside our community somewhere, is going to be one of those people that wins like 2 of the weekly winner 20K prizes, or a 10K and a 20K. I think because you're going to have you're going to have a replication of all these teams, or somebody's going to win first and third place, first and second place, second and third place, and have 2 of the teams because of the all eggs in one basket, tendency. I think this content pushes upon people, not by force, but by just excitement. Everybody gets so damn excited about some of these players. You see Ray G in our draft and the same guys over and over. Now, Ray, you could crash and burn. You need to know that. You need to understand that. Don't come blaming me if you're not diversifying your portfolio. But I am totally willing to do that because I know the cost, the risk. I'm fine with it. I'm fine. To me, one season feels like a month. My job, what I do here, I'm blessed to do it. I appreciate all of you for allowing me to do the job that I do. I can't thank you enough. I'm sorry I don't say thank you enough, especially to my mods and everybody in here, super chatters, Ron Navy, Perps, everybody in here, Calvin Krim, all you guys, Superfish dropping super chats constantly. But my day goes so fast. My week goes so fast. My year goes so fast. It's like January and then I blink and it's already August, So for me, crashing and burning on a player or a prediction, putting my balls on the table, not throwing mud at the wall, but being bold and crazy and courageous with something like the JD5 take that some people just can't take. If something doesn't work out, I blink my eyes and the next season's here. And if that's not the case for you, diversify. Gibbs to the moon. Gibbs was an absolute monster. Joel says, enjoying best fantasy football show on YouTube. Thank you, pal. Appreciate you. Where was that other comment there? I was trying to... You were the only person telling us to take Tank Dell in the 14th and 15th rounds. Thank you, Chris. Not everybody liked that. The people that were here earlier in the live stream would have hated that Tank Dell take. I mean, like, it is what it is. You either like the bold stuff or you don't. There's no mud being thrown at the wall. These are cold, calculated calls. You know, this is 20 years of trying to cultivate the style that I play. And sometimes it rubs people the wrong way, and that's fine. And other people that have been here long enough to know that this isn't my first year doing what I do. It's abrasive, it's bold, it's crazy. I'm outside the box. I'm reckless in a way. And if you don't like that, then you don't have to partake. You can watch still, but you don't have to draft everything that I say or do. But you might find that, damn, I should have done that, or I shouldn't have done this, or it's the way it is.
It was funny last year with the Tank Dell stuff because you were on him, you know, before the draft even, and then basically you just floated in that late range, not getting drafted on underdog, and then I don't know if it was the first or second preseason game, he made those couple big plays against the Patriots, and then all of a sudden it was like sleeper wide receiver pick of the year, Tank Dell, all over the place, you know. So just goes to show.
Yeah, and the Jordan Love stuff too. Like, damn, that was, you know, frustrating to watch people dropping him left and right, left, and it's like Gibbs and Achane and Jordan Love were probably the three.
A lot of people dropped Achane.
Those are the three players that I literally would come out here on a tirade and say you can't give up on Love. Hang tight. You can't give up on Achane, who won people leagues at the end of the day. He did miss time. When he came back, he won leagues. And then what was the other one? It was Gibbs. And I can't tell you how many people just ran away from Gibbs. They were so pissed off. I'm unsubscribing from the channel. It's week 6. Wait one more week. Week 7's when he's doing it. But Gibbs, Achane, and Love, those people were giving up on these players and they're league winners.
The craziest one was when people gave up on Adrian when he got hurt, but a lot of people gave up after week 2. Week 1 he didn't play, then week 2 he had 1 carry for 5 yards, and people were just like, check out. It's like, why even draft a guy? If you think he's got that much talent, you're gonna dip out after 2 weeks. You know,
people are wild.
People get very impatient.
People are wild as can be. Let me see if I can find there's something I was going to throw up on screen here. Achane is going to explode. I love that there's so many haters on Achane right now. It's absolutely unreal.
Still, yep.
It's crazy. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't care. But I absolutely
no.
To this comment here. Where was it? It was Mustard. Achane was trash after his injury. I don't know what, but like, first of all, not if you pull up any player, they're gonna have some ups and downs. But bro, Achane was number 3 in week 13 and number 8 in week 17. I mean, there were these weeks here. I get where you're maybe remembering this, but like he was running back 1, 5, 4, 3, and 8. Like, that is unbelievable. When you really look at what is on screen here, and you talk about him playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 games, and in those 10 games, 3, 4, 5 of them, half of them, he was running back 8 or better, and in 40% of them, 4 out of the 10, he was at least a top 5 running back. I mean, I don't know what more you want out of a player when he plays 10 games and 50% of them he's a top 8 running back, 40% of them he's a top 5 running back. Like, I don't know what could please you. I don't know what could please you. Guy had 11 touchdowns. If we extrapolate his data, his 10 games divided by 10, his total divided by 10, multiply it by 17 and extrapolate it. He's running back 2 behind, barely behind Christian McCaffrey off of last year's numbers. And you can say, it's the one Denver game. You could take the Denver game out. He's probably a top 10 running back if you extrapolate the data. So, you know, I don't know why. I don't know what. Mustard, how many leagues don't you own him in is the question. How many leagues don't you own him in? That's the only answer. Or how many leagues did you feel like, I can't take him, I shouldn't take him, and then you got embarrassed by not getting him, and you're just pissed off about it, and you're rooting against his downfall to make last year's feelings go away. They've been driven so far into your heart, you're begging Achane to fail so that you can feel better about the past. You're living in regret. Mustard, I urge you to give Achane a virtual hug. Let it go, move on, and believe in him. It's the only way you're going to be able to have peace and move on. It's the only way. Achane's to the moon, bro. Achane to the mother freaking moon. On that note, I'm out of here, gentlemen. Appreciate you both.
All right. Yes,
I'll see you tonight. If we don't do a draft tonight, which we might, Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty, we'll do a Dynasty show tonight. One of the two. Dynasty, nice. I want to try and do both, but we'll have to see. It's already 7 o'clock my time. There's the link to do Underdog Fantasy. I'm going to click that link. Also, the pinned link is to join the Patreon. Travis is over there on the Patreon. Rock out. Everybody's over there jamming away. Constant live chat conversations. Think about the Patreon, like 10 different live stream chats where people are just talking, and it's our community, a positive group. $10 a month keeps the trolls out. First 200 people get into a 242-man league, 11 leagues of 22. It's a redraft league. We're going to do a marathon draft session, probably 8 to 12-hour live stream of every one of the 11 drafts. It's going to take forever. I might have to do a Saturday and Sunday. And the winners of each of the 11 leagues, I'm in each one of them too. And if I win, I don't count. So the next person down. The winners of the 11 leagues go into a Dynasty Startup League in 2025. Normal draft, not best ball. It'll be a normal Dynasty League, 12 people. And we'll draft that live on the channel. It will be called the official The Fantasy Football Show Dynasty League. Go get your Patreon on. It's pinned in the live chat. Best community in the world. They're so helpful. There's a trade live chat group. It's so simple too. You pull it up. It's got the 10 live chats right there. You just click it and type. And then you can have nested replies. So if you ask a question, people will reply under it. So it's all easy to find. And then there's content. And I'll have a piece of content up there today locked down, like this piece of news you see here, or this piece of content. Kobo says best community ever, and it's just getting started. Like, I'm not trying to diminish the product by saying this, but it's not even close to where it's going to be. Like, the rapid responses are already rapid, but once this thing grows into the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, you'll be able to ask a question and you'll see somebody's typing like right away. You'll be like, holy shit, someone's going to respond to this right away. Whereas like right now, you might wait 20 seconds or, occasionally. I don't know. Yeah, like I don't know how much quicker it'll be. Maybe it won't be quicker. It'll be just more people respond. Like it's gonna get crazy. Again, not diminishing the product now because it's amazing, but like as we get toward July 4th and things get busier, always July 4th things pop off. We're gonna be loaded with people in there. So it's gonna be the best way to get advice. Appreciate every single one of you. Do you have the Patreon app? You got to get the app. Well, no, you don't. You can do it on desktop, but like the app is the better experience, and that link is pinned. It's really good. And here's the link one more time. It's pinned in the live chat, but hit that link right there. Don't forget the Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty link. If we do a draft tonight, you'll want to be signed up ahead of time on this. How many members so far? We're under the 200 by I don't want to say a large amount, but a decent enough amount that I can project that anybody that signs up by tonight at midnight, you'll be fine on getting a spot, and I'll just kind of reassess it each night. But it's going to get busier and busier and busier. So jump into it. Appreciate you all. Anyway, I'm out of here.
Right. See you, Smitty.
Having no delay helps 100%. Thanks, Hoosier.
Right,
let it rock out. See you later, pal.
All
right, we're out of here. Appreciate you all. Achane to the mother freaking moon. Peace out. See you tonight.
Achane. Achane is the man. His haters call him small,
but he is 9 feet tall.
Jonathan became a member just now. Dan just joined the Patreon. Sean just joined the Patreon. Appreciate every single one of you. We just had a few quick members jump in, so appreciate you guys. Wait for your DM or your email. It'll be a little bit. I've got leagues 1, 2, and 3 of the 11 filled. It's just gonna be a slow process of inviting everybody, so just hang tight. Jonathan, appreciate you joining. Let's see who. Dan Tanner, appreciate you joining the Patreon crew. Sean, appreciate you. Who else did we have? We've had several people join today. Andrew Clark joined earlier. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate you. We have more. If I shouted you out, I shouted you out earlier. I think when it happened. But thank you all. And we got one more super chat from Coble. Coble says, "Great show. Much love to the community." Coble, appreciate you. You know what's funny is we are one of the more positive, helpful communities out there. When people are respectful, I know a lot of people think, oh, Smitty yells at everybody. I don't yell at my genuine hardcore crew of people. We yell when people make silly comments or try and tear down the community or try and say, this guy, don't listen to him in the chat. He's talking about Achan. Achan's going to be bad. That's the only time you start feeling like there's some sort of pushback at all. This is one of the most helpful communities on planet Earth when it comes to football and fantasy football content. And you know that if you're on the Patreon. The link's pinned in the live chat. Do it live. See you all tonight. Live Monday through Friday. Whenever news breaks, I'm live. But I'm live Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. That's what this show was. Panic Chambers should be weekly going forward. ADP weekly show going forward. We're going to do a week 1 start bench show pretty soon. A week 1 preemptive waiver wire show. I'm going to do a waiver wire show very, very soon. It'll be one of 4 parts. We'll do a waiver wire show each month. So June waiver wire show, probably 1 or 2 of them in July in preparation. And how do you do a waiver wire show? Well, number 1, I might talk about some dynasty guys to pick up, right? Number 2, it's a preemptive waiver wire show. Nobody does that. We do it. We do it right here on the channel. We do it obsessively on the channel. No one's live as much as this channel. No one's cranking out content like this channel. I don't have a producer. Ma sometimes might take some phone calls. Maybe I patch my mom in and she can screen the calls. You guys can talk to her on hold. That's the only help I'm ever going to get. This is a one-man band. We outproduce even teams of 15, 10, 20, 80 people doing their show at CBS or wherever. They have 14, 12 YouTube commentator guys, and they got producers. We do it all, and we're still out producing all of them. And you tell me somebody that's going to have a weekly Panic Chamber episode moving forward, somebody that has an ADP show moving forward, and somebody that does a couple waiver wire preemptive shows so that you're not scrambling to pick up a Tank Dell. After week 1, you'll already own them. And shout out to all my OGs. Thank you to my mod squad, Silver Rapture, Patient Zero, we call him here. Coble to the moon. Thank you, Coble, Calvin Krim, Isaac, Chris, Superfish with the 20, Caribbean with the 5, Overcome and Perps both with the 20, Anthony with the 2, Kobo with the 50, Perps with the 50, E-Rock with the 2, and Fallon kicking it off with the $2 hauler. And Fallon, I apologize, I didn't give you your standing ovation for having the first super chat of the evening, young man. I gotta go get my steps in. I have, how many steps do I have? I have 3,900. It's not actually that bad, but I gotta get to 12 every day. I'm gonna drop LBs. It's gonna drip off eventually. I've done it 5 straight days. This will be day 6. I'm walking 12,000 steps. I'm running about 2 or 3 miles of it, but I'm going 12,000 steps a day. I haven't lost a single pound yet, but I know it's gonna catch up, and I'm burning too many calories. I'm at a calorie deficit. It's gonna work. I know it. It's gonna do it live later.
Legend has it if you say St. Brown 3 times in the dark in the bathroom, you will immediately lose your league.
This question is a good one. Can we get an offensive line show? I probably won't do a dedicated show to it because then that information will get passed over. What I'll do for you is create like an offensive line board that we can reference like anytime you want. You know, kind of like this right here. I could do a handcuff show, which I've done, but what's better than having a handcuff show on demand whenever it's talked about? So I'll make sure I do some sort of offensive line board for you, Isaac, at some point, which will be better than your request. So appreciate you.